Are you having a hard time figuring out what to get Dad for Father's Day? You should check out Row 1 Brand's Vintage Pictorum Gallery. They have America's best sports art. With over 7,200 historic sports prints, you're assured to find something unique for Dad this Father's Day. Instead of a boring old tie, get him a historic baseball photo taken by Henry High Sandham at the historic Polo Grounds Stadium in New York City during the 1894 Temple Cup. Or, if he's an NFL buff, check out the 1963 vintage NFL poster. These are so good looking that you'll be amazed how they turn out. Shop now at sportshistorynetwork.com/row1 and save 15% off your order.
We don't give the big guys on the offensive and defensive line enough love. Well, today in this Football by Numbers series of bonus edition, jersey number 65 is up, and the offensive and defensive linemen are discussed. The most substantial in NFL history, number 65, coming up in just a moment. This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history on a day-to-day basis. This is your host, Darren Hayes, and we are podcasting from America's North Shore, bringing you the memories of the gridiron, one day at a time. So in taking the snap from the sportshistorynetwork.com and handing off to pigskindispatch.com, let's go no huddle through today's football history headlines.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, my football friends, and welcome to another special bonus edition of the Football by Numbers series of the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch. We have our Football by Numbers where we go through every single jersey number in the NFL, 0 through 99, and we are on jersey number 65 tonight, and we are going to pick the most substantial players that wore that jersey number for the longest period of time. There's a lot of different criteria, ways we can look at it, and we are jersey number 65 tonight, so we have a lot of offensive linemen we're going to be talking about. So some of them are beyond the years where they had very many statistics to grade them. So we're going to be counting a lot on all pros and Pro Bowls and championships as sort of those stats to go, and also the Hall of Fame. And speaking of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, they tell us that there are 3 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame that wore the jersey number 65, and they are Gary Zimmerman, who wore it for 12 seasons, Elvin Bethea, who wore it for 16 seasons, and Tom Mack, that wore it for 13 seasons. So first, let's go to Gary Zimmerman. He was a great offensive tackle, 6'6", 294 pounds, from the University of Oregon, and he was just fantastic. He started 184 games, and he played in 184 games, so every game he played in, he started. And he came in 1986 with the Minnesota Vikings and played there all the way through 1992, and then 5 final seasons, 1993 through 97, with the Denver Broncos and some of their great teams they had in the late 90s under some great leadership. And he was a 7-time Pro Bowler. We already told you he was in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and what a fantastic player he really was. He also was a 3-time All-Pro player, and that is why he is going to go on our list of our top 10 right away as our number 1 spot. Now, Elvin Bethea, he was not an offensive lineman, but a defensive end, and 6'2", 260 pounds. North Carolina A&T was his college. He came out in 1968, was drafted by the Houston Oilers, and stayed with the Oilers all the way through 1983 season. So just a tremendously long career wearing number 65, all with the one team. And he made it to 8 Pro Bowls besides going in the Hall of Fame, started 181 games and played in 210 of them. So you can tell lengthy career there. And that is the reason he is going into our top 10. Elvin Bethea, number 2 on our top 10 list. Tom Mack, our 3rd Hall of Famer. He was an offensive guard that played with the LA Rams from 1966 all the way to 1978. Came out of the University of Michigan, another Wolverine in our top 10, and he is going in our top 10. He started 176 games, played in 184, 11 Pro Bowls, double-digit Pro Bowls, was an All-Pro once. So no doubt about it, Tom Mack going in there with the other Hall of Famers into our top 10 players wearing number 65 in NFL history. Let's talk about another defensive player, defensive tackle, defensive end from Purdue, Dave Butts. And Dave, he played from 1973 through 1988. First 2 years was a St. Louis Cardinal, and then from 75 to 88, he was a Washington Redskin. And not a whole lot of defensive stats for him. He is down for 36 and a half sacks, but that was only partial of his career from 1982 on. So those first 10 seasons, no sacks are in there. And he is a two-time Super Bowl champ, all 1980s team. Went to a Pro Bowl and was an All-Pro once. So some very good numbers there. And I think we're going to put him on pause. We'll come back to him near the end to see if we put him on our top 10. Another guy we want to talk about, Bart Oates. He played center, came out of BYU. 1985 was drafted by the New York Giants, played with them all the way to 1993. 2 final years, 94-95, with the San Francisco 49ers. Wore that jersey number 65 the entire time. Started 165 games in the NFL, played in 172. He made it to 5 Pro Bowls and was a 3-time Super Bowl champion. Just some fantastic postseason play by him. I believe 2 of those championships were with the Giants and 1 was with San Francisco in the mid-90s there. So, great player there. And I think with those 5 Pro Bowls, I think that warrants that Bart Oates goes into our list of our top 10 here. And another player we want to talk about, Andre Garrod. He was a guard and center on the offensive line. Came from Colorado, University of Colorado. Started 131 games in the NFL, played in 161, and he came in with the Dallas Cowboys in 2002, stayed with them through the 2010 season, and then had a 1-year stint with Baltimore and a final one in Oakland in 2013. Missed the 2012 season. I think he was just out of the league that season. But 5 Pro Bowls for Andre Garrod. Very good numbers there. I think we're going to come back to Andre also in our top 10 list to see if he'll make it. Our next subject, Max Montoya, a guard that came out of UCLA. The 1979 season, was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals, stayed with the Bengals through the 1989 season, and then played his final 6 seasons with the Raiders. I believe they were in Los Angeles then. 5 seasons with the Raiders, 1990 through 1994. And, a spectacular player he was. He started 195 games, played in 223, and made it into 4 Pro Bowls while he was in the NFL. So another great player there. And I think we're going to end up putting Max on our list here because he was substantial. And Joe Fields is another one we're going to talk about. He was a center and a guard. He went to college at Rutgers in Camden and also played for Widener. And he ended up making it on the New York Jets roster. 1975 he was drafted by then. Stayed there all the way through 1987, then stayed in the city of New York and played for the Giants in 1988 in East Rutherford. And he played in 2 Pro Bowls and was one time as an All-Pro in his career. So, Joe Fields, another good player, and we're going to take a look to see if he makes onto our list. Chris Naoli, he was a guard and went to Colorado also, and he played from 1997 through 2001 with the New Orleans Saints, and then went to Jacksonville for 6 seasons after that, 2002 to 2007. Did not have any Pro Bowls or All-Pro seasons, but he was a substantial player that started 150 games, played in 154 during his career, and wore that number 65 his entire career. Not sure that he's going to make it there without the credentials of the All-Pros and the Pro Bowls, though, but we will keep him in mind when we get to the end. John Jackson, another offensive tackle. He played for Eastern Kentucky, and he was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 10th round of the 1988 NFL draft. Stayed with the Steelers from 1988 all the way through 1997 season. Then a couple seasons with the San Diego Chargers and 2 in Cincinnati, 2000, 2001. Did not have any Pro Bowls or All-Pro seasons, but wore the jersey number 65. Started 166 games, played in 203 of them, and not sure he's going to make it on our list, but he was a substantial offensive player for those teams. And Charlie Johnson, another player from Colorado. A lot of offensive linemen here. We're 65 from Colorado. And this 6'3", 266-pound gentleman, he played nose tackle, and he came in with the Philadelphia Eagles in 1977, stayed there through the 1981 season, and then went to the Minnesota Vikings for 82, 83, and 1984 to finish his career up. Had 6 sacks in his career, 117 games that he played in, 3-time Pro Bowler, 2 times as an All-Pro. Another great player to talk about, and another defensive player. We'll see if he makes it. He's in our discussion. And Houston Antwine, defensive tackle, defensive end, 6 foot, 270 pounds, that went to Southern Illinois. And he came in 1961 with the Boston Patriots and stayed with that team all the way through 1970, so the entire AFL career with the Boston Patriots. Then was a New England Patriot in 1971, and then a Philadelphia Eagle in 1972. He started 124 games, made it to 6 Pro Bowls, and once as an All-Pro. Great player, Houston Antwine. We'll see if he makes our list at the end here, but he's a strong candidate. Wayne Hawkins is another one, played offensive guard. He came from the College of the Pacific, and he was drafted by the Oakland Raiders in the AFL, 1960, stayed with the team all the way through 1969, so with Oakland and in the AFL his entire career. 5 Pro Bowls or All-Pro games, All-Star games they had in the AFL, and 1 time as an AFL champion, started 104 games and played in 136. And those are the most substantial players that wore that jersey number 65. Now let's go into our list here and see who we want to put on this list. And we already told you that we're going to have Gary Zimmerman, Elvin Bethea, Tom Mack, Bart Oates made it on our list. Andre Garode, we're going to put him on our list as our number 5 spot. For our 6th entrant, we're going to take Max Montoya onto our list. 7th, Joe Fields, that great player. And 8th, we'll put Charlie Johnson on, followed by Houston Antwine, and our 10th and final player will be Dave Butts. And we had some other great candidates there, but boy, we only had room for 10, and just looking at the information that we had available, we felt that those were our top 10 wearing jersey number 65, all offensive and defensive linemen, and just had some great careers, a lot of Pro Bowl games, a lot of All-Pros, and we thank those gentlemen for playing and being such good examples on the football field for our youngsters, and playing such great ball to entertain us and do their jobs. And you know, offensive, defensive linemen, they don't get the love that the skill set players get. So we love talking about the big guys in the trenches, and we give them some credit and some love, especially those guys from the older history. We like to do it. So we hope you enjoyed this episode, bonus episode of the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch. And you know, our football by numbers series is continuing, and we know we've skipped past a couple numbers here. We're just lining up some great guests to have with you. They were just doing some of these numbers that are solo missions for yours truly to bring to you, and so we can get all these numbers done by the start of the NFL season in September. And so we're trying to get these out to you, so you will have all of them. You can find all of them on pigskindispatch.com and also on the sportshistorynetwork.com, and your favorite podcast provider, the greatest numbers series of NFL players. We bring it to you probably 3 to 4 times every week. We hope you're enjoying it, and hope you'll look us up on pigskindispatch.com. If you see that we missed anybody, or you have some controversy of who we picked, please email us at pigskindispatch@gmail.com. We do make mistakes, and we will correct them on a future podcast, and also on the blog posts on pigskindispatch.com. So please don't be afraid to contact us and give your input, because we definitely want to hear from you, our listeners. You are the one that makes the world go round for us. And hope you're enjoying this great football history. We hope you'll come back tomorrow and our next bonus edition of the Football by Numbers series of the NFL players. Until tomorrow, everybody, have a great gridiron day. We're taking a peek over at the chains and the down marker. It's 4th and long. We're going to have to punt the ball and get on out of here, but we'll have another series tomorrow for your football history headlines, so be sure to tune in. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. A special thanks to the talents of Mike and Jean Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast. PigskinDispatch.com is a proud affiliate of the Sports History Network, the headquarters of sports yesteryear. At the Sports History Network, we're all about sports yesteryear, and so we're so pleased to introduce you to Row One, an online memorabilia gallery and shop that brings your sports history to life anywhere. The Row One gallery includes over 5,200 gorgeously reproduced prints of team posters, game program covers, game tickets, advertisements, and more in baseball, pro and college football, pro and college basketball, and more. And any gallery item may be printed in a variety of sizes on wood, metal, canvas, acrylic, or poster paper. And in Row One shop, check out the thousands more of unique items with the retro and historical designs dating back to 1876, including t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, phone cases, mugs, blankets, pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com, ROW1, for access to the full Row One catalog and for gallery prints and gift items, plus get a 15% discount off all prints on the Row One Pictorum Gallery with coupon code SHN15. Follow the link on the show notes.